going on, everyone? You're all very welcome to the Gaelic Gridiron podcast, sponsored by Print My Pint. For your next birthday, event, corporate gig, or whatever you have coming up, for something unique, a unique addition to your next event, make sure to check them out on printmypint.ie. And we are very, very grateful for their continued support to the podcast. Week 10 about to kick off. Jimmy English, Stephen Kearns, and James Kellett coming to you on the podcast ahead. Officially past the halfway point of the season, week 9 in the rear view mirror. What a week it was. We are going to get into that, as well as talking about the absolute chaos that unfolded on trade deadline yesterday, sending shockwaves around the NFL. Talk a little bit about Thursday night football, and look at some of the top kind of games for week 10 as well, especially Thursday night football coming up, and then some great games coming up this weekend as well. Lads, this is the first time we've had this combination on the podcast, so I am looking forward to chatting to you. I am, and Twist is going to give me no sympathy here. I'm a little bit jet lagged after flying back from Pittsburgh this morning, so you can see the eye roll there. We'll start off then recapping some of the week 9 games, and obviously there's a few days gone since we had obviously week 9 because we're a little bit delayed doing the podcast this week. But some of the big games and the big results, surprising results we had last Sunday. First and foremost, Twist, Steelers versus Colts. I mean, there's a result that nobody expected to see, 27-20 in favor of Pittsburgh. The defense, after being much maligned against the Packers and the Bengals in previous weeks, absolutely had a storm, a barnstormer against the Colts, shutting down Jonathan Taylor. 6 turnovers, 5 sacks, the most takeaways, second most takeaways under Mike Tomlin. I mean, they really needed to have that game, didn't they?
They did. Like, the skid they had post-Dublin game wasn't a great look. Many critics, myself included, bandying around the highest paid defense can't do nothing. I don't know whether Tomlin is a big Penguins fan or not, but I think he follows the Penguins' route. The Penguins are having a revival with the youth. The addition of Ben Kindle, he's bringing the team up. And you've seen it on Sunday, the newer guys, Jack Sawyer, Roman Wilson, having explosive plays. And obviously TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, the vets, were there to make their presence felt. But the youth movement that we're seeing in Pittsburgh sports in general is something that needs to be taken on board. I know James mentioned it last week, when I wasn't there. The Steelers' aging defense in the fourth quarter was really showing like that they're getting old and slow, and they may not have the gas to go in the fourth quarter. So giving the younger guys the chance to go out there, make those big plays, make that impact, looking at Sawyer and Wilson and Herbig, like those 3 alone are going to have big impacts on the defense. I'd be look to see them getting more snaps in as the game goes on, purely to keep that defense energized and to shut down Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah,
and to make Daniels, Indiana Jones, went into Acusure was his temple of doom. He could not get out of there alive. He played mistake-filled football.
And we kind of said that from the very outset, James. I mean, even last week, we knew that the Steelers' defense had to rattle Daniel Jones. Those are the kind of 2 big keys for the defense. Was rattle Daniel Jones, cause him to make mistakes, turn him over, make him uncomfortable, and then shut down Jonathan Taylor. And the Steelers' defense succeeded in doing both those things. I mean, obviously, I was at the game, and it was great to be there, great atmosphere. But the first couple of drives weren't particularly great on offense and defense. Obviously, Daniel Jones had the rushing touchdown to start things off. Offense, I believe, had two or three and outs, and there was actually booze. There was booze in the first quarter in Acrisure Stadium, and I was sitting there going, I don't believe this. But then the defense just kind of hit a switch, and it was game on. I mean, as a neutral fan watching that game, what were your kind of thoughts?
There was a lot of flashbacks I had during that game watching Daniel Jones as a Giants fan. I've always said about him, if he doesn't have the time, even most quarterbacks, you could give them 3 seconds, and if they're at a competent level, they're going to get to their second read and they're going to bail themselves out of a lot of situations. But with Daniel Jones, he genuinely needs 5, 6, 7 seconds every single time because he is quite slow at his process. And what Shane Steichen did to start the season was make sure the first reads were always there. They used Jonathan Taylor to a T, and the offensive line is incredibly strong. And what the Steelers did is all the more impressive because of how strong that offensive line is. Like, I was really impressed with Highsmith as well in this game, and Benton as well. Joey Porter Jr. making some big plays too. I think across the board, the Steelers' defense was exceptional, and I think it's. I know it's, you could say, oh, Daniel Jones, if you put pressure on him, it's easy to win the game. But nobody else had done it this season because of that O-line, and the Steelers did it. They found a way to do it. They showed that they're not to be messed with. They can still stand up against a very strong O-line. And yeah, I think it was a really impressive performance. I don't know whether this is a sign of things to come for Daniel Jones, because I don't think every team can get after him the way that the Steelers did, but it does show that he still has those same flaws.
Twist, I mean, we all went from doom and gloom to singing the Steelers' praises, and it just goes to show you how mercurial they are. And we're going to move on in a second, because I don't want to dwell too much on this. It has been kind of done to death. But like, I do think that if the Steelers' defense, and like I was one of them, I put my hand up and I said I don't think we can win this game. And I think they surprised the entirety of Steelers Nation by beating the Colts. And shout out to the Steelers social media team for some of the memes afterwards. Absolutely priceless. So they really capitalized on that. But if the Steelers keep playing, if the Steelers defense keeps playing at this high a level, and the offense can keep finding its feet and keep getting, more playmakers involved, and maybe find a true number 2 target that's not a tight end, the Steelers could realistically, make a playoff run, make a deep playoff run this year. I mean, I think that when that defense is flying and powering it on all cylinders, and Aaron Rodgers is on point and has poise, this team can beat anyone.
I mean, that's the same with any team, to be honest. Like, the big thing for the Steelers defense is it has to stay healthy, and they have to rotate. They have to take TJ Watt out. They have to take Cam Hayward out. They have to give Highsmith breaks because he's tweaked his ankle. They got to trust the new guys or the young guys to go in and fill those gaps and take those pressures off. And the key the Steelers done was not only did they beat the offensive line of the Colts, they pinned the Colts back. The Colts had never been in second and long, third and long all year. And putting them in that position, the Steelers have shown every other team in the league, this is a blueprint to beat the Colts. Put some pressure on Daniel Jones, as James says. Make him make quick decisions, because he's never been great at that. But also put them in long yard situations. Put them in long yardage situations, you're going to force Daniel Jones to make those passes, and it resulted in the Steelers getting 6 takeaways. But yeah, I mean, if we can stay healthy and if we can keep playing to this high level, a deep playoff run is absolutely possible. But, is this a trend we're seeing, or is this just a flash in the pan?
Yeah.
Like, when we go to the Tigers, are we going to see Justin Herbert pick us apart?
You just never know with the Steelers. James, one thing quickly I want to get your thoughts on before we move on and talk about the Seahawks beating up with the Commanders, because that was another surprising result, and they are looking like another contender. There was one point in the game where the Colts muffed a punt, and Brandon Eccles recovered the ball, tipped it to himself, and ran it in for a touchdown. The referees ruled it dead at the point where he recovered it, even though if you look at it back in replay, and I watched this play over and over again, he was no touch. He was not touched down at any point. That was a clean recovery, a clean touchdown. I mean, what were the refs thinking there? I mean, such an egregious officiating call.
Yeah, I think it's actually quite telling that last week we spoke about the referees as well in the Eagles and Giants game, and how in that game there was a phantom whistle, and this time there was a whistle when there shouldn't have been one.
Yeah.
I guess it just shows that it's hard to make an argument to say that, okay, all these things should be reviewed, because then the game is just going to be so choppy. But some things are just quite black and white and quite obvious. And I don't know how long it would really take for someone to review that very quickly into the ref's ear and say, look, you got that wrong. They have enough time to converse between themselves. Can they not get a situation where this is a huge point in a game, could be a turning point, and they just refuse to make the correct decision because what they've called on the field was wrong?
Yeah. I mean, all scoring plays, Twist, are automatically reviewed, and some contentious turnover plays are reviewed as well. I mean, like James said, I mean, it would have taken New York no trouble at all to call down to the rest on the field and say, hang on, lads, you've actually messed that one up, because it was clear as daylight that Eccles had recovered that ball, and that was the touchdown.
That was a punt, wasn't it? I can't remember.
It was a muff punt by the receiver.
By rule, a muffed punt cannot be advanced. A muffed kickoff can, but a muffed punt can't. So
there you go. There's your explanation.
Like, that's one thing that everybody was screaming all over social media. Should have been a touchdown, blah, blah. Everyone forgets kickoff is a live ball situation. A muffed punt can be recovered but cannot be advanced. It was a rule that was changed, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. But it was one of those rules that was changed, like, very quiet under the radar after this one of the CBAs, and I was like, yeah, cool. And everyone forgets about it till it happened. But it happens so rarely that everyone just assumes, hey, that's a live ball, that should be a touchdown. So yeah, muff punt can't be advanced. Muff kickoff absolutely can.
There you go. You learn something new every day. Consider myself educated. Okay, look, we've definitely dwelt enough on the Steelers and the Colts, and I do apologize to anyone listening. This is not a Steelers podcast. This is a general NFL podcast. We are going to move on and talk briefly about the Seahawks and the Commanders. The Seahawks absolutely beaten down on the Commanders on Sunday afternoon, putting up over 30 points in them. Sam Darnold absolutely flawless in the first quarter with 4 touchdowns, a perfect passer rating, and the Seahawks, James, they're first in the NFC West at the minute, which is an unusual position for them to be in, really. And we've seen this before with Darnold, where with the Vikings last year, he played at a really, really high level and was looking great, and then he kind of fell off a cliff towards the end of the season. So, and the Seahawks, they do have some tough matchups coming up. Granted, they have the Texans this weekend, but they do have the Rams the following weekend, which I think will be another real test for them. I mean, can the Seahawks continue up this kind of great period of play? Is Sam Darnold, is he actually, because he looked like a true franchise quarterback against the Commanders on Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I actually think that he hasn't even reached his full potential yet, because before the season started, I really liked what they did with their offensive coordinator hire, because it was clear from the start that they were going to run the ball more, and that suited Sam a lot to play in that play action system, because that's where he thrives. And the run game is very poor in yards per carry. It's one of the worst in the league so far. So I think that can actually still improve, and when that improves, he will be even better. And he's already so quick off the mark. He's one of the top players in explosive plays over the past 2 seasons. They just signed Shaheed. I'm sure we'll touch on that later on, but that's only going to add to that, because he has pace to burn, and that's something they didn't really have. And it'll free up JSN as well to do a little bit of things differently in the slot, like he likes to do. So I actually think that they're only going to improve, and I hope they do, because before the season started, I was really quite high on them. I put a good bit of money on the line on Mike McDonald to win Coach of the Year and then to win their division. So let's see. Hopefully it continues. But yeah, I think Sam has still got more leaps to make, and he's in the MVP conversation.
But I mean, the addition of Rashid Shaheed, as James mentioned there, to serve as a running mate to, I mean, statistically this season, the best receiver in the league, and arguably overall the best receiver, the most dynamic receiver, certainly, in Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, with Shaheed coming in, it's just going to be unfair on opposing defenses having those two lads running together. And if Darnold can keep up his strong play, I mean, the sky's the limit for the Seahawks, really.
Yeah, I mean, look at his performance. He hadn't missed a pass for a fair chunk of the game.
I think he went 26 out of 26 or something like that in the first quarter.
Yeah,
in the first half. Sorry,
he was insane. He only ended up missing. He finished like 31 or 34. He missed 3 passes the entire game, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, garbage time interception. But when you're out there and you're just slinging the ball, and he made it look easy. And yeah, I mean, it was the Commanders. Jaden Daniels went down with a horrible injury.
And the Commanders are beaten up as well, especially on offense, missing a lot of pieces on offense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you went out and beat up on a Commanders team, but at the same time, don't take it away. Anyone who says that, at the same time, don't take that away from Sam Darnold. He put on such a clinic. He looked so good in Minnesota. I mean, the Vikings really did gamble heavily by letting him walk and hoping that JJ McCarthy can be heir apparent. I mean, Carson Wentz serviceable backup when McCarthy was out and like played ridiculously Carson Wentz football, like stupidly injured. But I don't know if like people in Minnesota are looking at Sam Darnold now and having a little bit of seller's remorse. You know, like why did we let him walk? Look, where could we be? You know, when JJ went down, could we have gone like 3-4-0 when he was down, like rather than 2-2 or whatever? So yeah, Darnold, definitely the sky is the limit for him. I think the Seahawks are definitely a contender in the NFC, definitely a playoff team if Darnold keeps going the way he's going. And as James mentioned, get that running game going.
Yeah.
And Darnold in play action will feast all day, especially with new acquisition. Like, it's just going to be unfair for teams they're facing. But like, I don't know. I think just to stay in on this game, little point to this game a little bit more. Commanders need to like destroy that stadium, like just burn it to the ground. That's Joe Theismann, Alex Smith, Robert Griffin III, and now Jaden Daniels. Like, and the thing is, Theismann and Smith, same date, same location, same injury. Griffin and Daniels, not the same date, not the same injury, but the injury happened against the same opponent at the same like yardage mark. That feels cursed. Just burn that stadium to the ground, start again.
I mean, Dan Quinn did come out not the day up, in his post game press conference, but after practice the day after, I believe it was, and he did admit that he should have pulled him out, and he's dead right. If you're getting blown out 38-14, you pull your starters and you put the backups in. And Jaden Daniels, I saw the injury back the day after, and I actually like flinched. Like it was almost as bad in slow motion as Cam Scadaboo's ankle, to be honest with you. Now, obviously, the both of them were, if you can call it lucky, I don't know if I call it lucky. Scadaboo is a dislocation.
That's always
as is Daniels. Daniels is only a dislocated elbow. I mean, it looked like a clean fracture break from watching the video, but like Campbell should have 100% pulled him. You always protect your starters. If you're winning by a blowout or losing by a blowout, you pull your star QB. James, that's their season more or less lost now. I mean, they weren't looking great as it is, but Marcus Mariota is not going to come in and work wonders, especially when you're missing Scary Terry, you're missing Luke McCaffrey. Thank you. Debo Samuel and Ja'Cory Cross-Kamara are not going to win you many games, especially with Marcus Mariota calling the plays and running the offense.
Yeah, I think it was a really bad decision, as both of you have agreed on as well. Like it was 38-7 at the time with 12 minutes left. What are you gaining?
Nothing.
Like that argument of if you get a couple of good drives, it'll make you be positive going into the next week is one that people use. I don't agree in this situation because you have an injury-prone quarterback.
Yeah. His third injury this year. He already did his hamstring and his knee, I think.
Yeah, and playing against an incredibly good defense that is not going to let up on you no matter who you are. So I think that way that they dealt with the situation was very poor. And then Mariota comes in for the last drive and they ran it every single play. They didn't ask him to throw or do anything himself. So why didn't they do that then if they had Daniels in? That's where I'm even more confused, because Quinn did say that, we pulled a lot of plays from the playbook that would have put him in trouble. But we didn't, consider how good of a scrambler he is. That's his whole game. How can you not consider that?
Yeah.
I just don't agree with that at all. I think he put the player in harm's way. The season is done already. The team, it's time now. I know it's only the second year of this whatever regime, but it is time for them to offload some of those older players in the offseason.
Debo Samuel in particular, he's past the sell-by date, far past it.
But even looking at Ertz and Bobby Wagner, these guys serviced them last year. They made a great run, but that doesn't look like a sustainable future at all for them. Right now, they need to really assess what they're going to do going into this offseason. So, it's a tough situation over there in Washington.
I saw you mentioned Bobby Wagner there. They also have who's the linebacker who played for the Broncos? Von Miller playing on that defense as well. I mean, these are Bobby Wagner and Von Miller are, 100% future Hall of Famers and legends of the game, but they're past at this stage. And we talked about old players. I mean, for the Steelers, at a certain stage, you just have to kind of cut your losses and build for the future.
Yeah, remember,
Yeah,
like Peyton Manning was still in the league when Von Miller was playing. Von Miller played with Peyton Manning in
He did.
The Broncos. Like, that's how long ago that was. So,
mm,
I understand the warrior mentality. Keep going, keep playing. I've always got one more game, one more snap of me, and stuff like that. That's fine. I don't think Washington is the place for him to be. If he wants to be an impact player, he probably still has a few good plays in him. He needs to go to a contender and be a third string,
yeah.
maybe second string. But we kind of have to talk about probably the Bears and the Bengals
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
insanity that happened in that game.
The last few minutes of that game, Bengals up, letting the Bears come back. Colson Loveland touchdown. I mean, that tackle attempt is a classic example of why you always wrap up your tackles. I mean, that's fundamental football. You're even taught that playing football over here as a defender. You're taught that in high school football. Before high school football, you always wrap your tackles and roll. You do not try and shoulder tackle somebody, because 9 times out of 10, exactly what happened is going to happen. The receiver will bounce off you and run and score a touchdown and win the game. It was absolute madness.
I thought
Yeah,
that the whole defensive performance on both sides in that game was a clinic in how not to defend. Like, I honestly was watching the Giants at the same time, and I was like, "This is making the Giants look like Legion of Boom over here. Like, this is so bad." I could not believe the number of missed tackles, and apparently after the game as well, a lot of the Bengals defenders were they wouldn't speak with the media, and they were kind of laughing, saying, "See you on Monday" and stuff. The culture is just rotten. Like, there's no
Yeah.
accountability there, so it's definitely wasn't. Lou Anarumo's fault, even though he was scapegoated. Al Golden isn't doing a whole lot better, so I don't. I think it's an issue within the locker room, and uh, the Bears rely way too heavily on splash plays. Then on the other side, they just need interceptions and big plays that they just weren't getting often enough. And if they don't have those, they give up so many points. So I think both teams have a lot to work on defensively. But yeah, the offensive side of things, it made for a super exciting finish to the game.
at this rate, they just need to take the offense of the Bengals and the defense of Cleveland and just make one team from Ohio. That's it. Like, just the
Joe
Ohio
Flacco would
Bengals,
ideally
the
be the
Ohio
quarterback.
Brown Bengals or something like that. I don't know, because the,
And
the,
they'd still be bottom of the AFC North as well, the way things are going. Now that
but,
Lamar Jackson's back for the Ravens and they're actually competitive again.
but you got to look at mention the Ravens. But before we do that, like, Joe Burrow sitting there and watching Joe Flacco going out, like, throwing 4 touchdowns, like, go 30 plus points. It just goes to show that Bengals offense is that talented that, like, an aging journeyman quarterback can come in. Flacco is still a good player, but he can
He
come in
is.
and he can, like, put up high numbers. He can put up, like, an impressive beat. That Bengals, those Bengals will never reach the Super Bowl unless they tear that defense down and start again, because it's just abysmal.
There's obviously one other key injury we want to talk about as well, and that is to Tucker Kraft. God love him. He had emerged as the best tight end in football, perhaps. I mean, he's absolutely kind of exploded onto the scene as Jordan Love's go-to guy. Suffering a very unfortunate torn ACL against the Panthers on Sunday. And as a result, I mean, that was definitely a key factor in the Panthers beating the Packers 16-13. Ryan Fitzgerald, by the way, who is a friend of the show, kicking another game-winning field goal. So shout out to Ryan. I mean, it just goes to show you, James, how heavily Jordan Love relied on Tucker Kraft. They failed to get anything going really, and suffered a loss to the kind of fairly irrelevant Panthers once Tucker Kraft went out of the game as well.
Yeah, I think he was leading the team in yardage, 489. He still is. Probably not after this week if Dobbs gets a couple of catches under his belt, but 6 touchdowns as well. It was somebody that Love turns to a lot when he got into trouble. He always had kind of Kraft as somebody who's available. He's excellent after the catch as well. So I think that was really important for this offense to allow them to get going. I'm really not sure about the Packers, because every time I want to believe like that Jordan Love is ready and he's going to take the next step, he always has a game where he just can't like lead the team down the field when they need to be led, or he can't like come up with the big play, or he throws a silly interception in a lot of cases last season. Feels like it's just like on repeat with him here. Not to say that he won't be a very good quarterback, but when is he going to get there and make this a fully winning team? Now, it could be this season, but I can't see it with Kraft going down, and it seems like that receiver room is a lot of second and third options rather than someone he can constantly go to. So it's a little bit worrying for Packers fans right now, because that division though is wide open. That's all that there is to still say about it, because the Lions are losing. Not sure about the Vikings or the Bears, so they could still go and win it, but it's a tough one.
Chris, I know you've been pretty high on the Packers coming in insofar as this podcast, and you have to admit their chances have taken a significant dent even in the NFC North now, with Tucker Kraft going out injured for the rest of the season. As James mentioned there, the Packers, I mean, Tucker Kraft obviously a tight end, but 100% Jordan Love's top target in Green Bay. And now you have Romeo Doubs, you have Wicks, I believe, as a receiver in Green Bay. And that's it, really. I mean, Josh Jacobs obviously is a good running back, but you can't rely solely on the run game. You have to use the run to set up the pass. So the Packers, I mean, they are looking to be in trouble in the NFC North, and playoff chances definitely taking a hit after Tucker Kraft going down.
Yeah, definitely. My prediction of them making and winning the Super Bowl is looking very shaky right now. Kraft going down, like, was not only like the top tight end like in the league, he was number 6 in the league of all receivers in yak yards after catch. He was literally a yak machine for Jordan Love. And that's the type of tight end you need, or any type of receiver. It's great to catch a ball and, like, you get tackled straight away, but if you can catch a ball and you can add 5, 10, 15 yards after catch every play, which, like, he was notorious for doing, your offense is like humming constantly. The Packers wide receiver room, it's a collection of who?
Yeah.
Like, that's the idea when you say Dobbs and stuff like that. That's the, like, who? And it's surprising that with the news of him going down with that ACL injury, that there was no move that we know of by the Packers to try and grab a wide receiver at the trade deadline.
Or tight end.
Or tight end.
I'm still surprised that Freiermuth wasn't traded, to be honest with you. His stock had trended up.
We've no need to trade. Why would we trade Freiermuth? Aaron Rodgers loves his tight ends. The more tight ends we have, the happier Aaron Rodgers is.
I was just seeing him as a kind of a spare part. In earlier weeks during the season, obviously he had a couple of big games, especially against the Packers. So look, I'm glad he wasn't traded.
Yeah, but the Packers not making a move for the deadline for, like, a wide receiver or a tight end to fill that hole left by Kraft is questionable. I can't really see the team having 100% faith in the remaining receiving core. So that's going to be a head scratcher. If they miss the playoffs or they end up being one and done, people are going to look back and go, why didn't we pull the trigger? It's like the Colts went all in at like trade deadline, which we'll move on to next. But, like, if you think you're going to be that type of team, if you think you've got the faith to Jordan Love that he can bring the team to the Lombardi, you got to go all in on it before the trade deadline.
I think they had some kind of report from Green Bay that they were looking at tight end options. Like, that's a sorry way to say that we're not willing to go out and spend draft capital. Anybody could say that we're looking for something.
Browsing.
Yeah, just go and do it. Like, I'm looking at tight ends right now as well. Doesn't mean I'm going to go trade
for your fantasy football team.
So it is.
God love anybody if they had Tucker Kraft in their fantasy football team, because your season is just. I mean, look,
how many injuries this year have been. Yeah, it's been really tough across the league to see so many big players go down. But
imagine if you had Scalaboo and Tucker Kraft in your fantasy team, you're probably crying in a corner after last Sunday. Yep. Your fantasy season just over. Before we move on and talk about the trade deadline carnage that happened yesterday, let's just briefly preview Thursday Night Football, because it is an interesting one and an intriguing one this week. We have the Broncos and the Raiders in Thursday Night Football. Broncos coming in on a 6-game winning streak. Didn't have obviously had a great game against the Cowboys 2 weeks ago. Barely bet the backup-led Texans on Sunday. Whereas the Raiders, I watched the end of that Raiders-Jaguars game. That was some finish in that game where the Raiders almost came back and bet the Jaguars. Now, look, that wouldn't have been completely surprising the way the Jaguars are playing. But look, I think this could actually be a pretty good game, James.
Yeah, talk about tight ends. I think it's going to be Brock Bowers' time now
Mm.
for the rest of the season because we mentioned last weekend, or I think we were talking about last week about the Steelers looking to trade maybe for a wide receiver, and I mentioned Jacoby Myers. The Jaguars have gone out and gotten
Mm-hmm.
him now, and you know who else is there now? They're looking at Trey Tucker as their number one option. It's going to be like could be 20 passes going in Bowers' direction every single week at this point. He came back from injury last weekend and he showed how big of a part he played in this team. But again, I don't really know. Like their offensive line isn't amazing, so the Broncos might feast on them there in that perspective. Every single time I see the Broncos win another game, it just shows me that Nix and Peyton really kind of have this winning ability to them. But how long that lasts is another thing. I just don't know about this game. This could be it could be maybe a 20-17 kind of an affair in division.
So it's all going to come down to quarterbacks twist, I think. I mean, Geno Smith led. He almost won the game for the Raiders in overtime, and only for he drove him down the field, and then he makes a mistake by I think he hit one of his players in the back of the helmet with a stray pass on the last play of the game. But like he has improved week on week, and then you look on the flip side, you have Bo Nix who's absolutely balling out. I mean, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but sneakily so. And as are the Broncos in general, they're just under the radar. They're 6-2 at this stage. They're playing consistent football. Bo Nix is leading the team. Defense is playing well. A couple of ups and downs. Obviously, London a few weeks ago or 3 or 4 weeks ago now was a snooze fest. But then they put 44 points in the Cowboys, and then went back down to earth against the Texans. So, I do think that the Broncos are, and pardon the pun here, a dark horse for in the AFC West. And to James's point, it's going to come down to offensive play on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I wouldn't be putting any money on the Raiders if you're a gambling person for Thursday Night Football. Yeah, Geno Smith, he went in and he won on Sunday, but it's still Geno Smith. He's looked horrible all season.
Mm.
Brock Bowers is back. Yeah, I mean, give anyone an elite tight end, they're going to look good. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, as long as he's healthy, seeing PS2
Mm.
in the slot on Brock Bowers the entire game, take him away. And who does Geno Smith have? Nobody. He's back to being Geno
Nobody.
Smith. He's back to being Geno Smith. Bo Nix has a little.
Literally nobody. I couldn't even tell you after trading Jacoby Myers to the Jaguars, which is so random, by the way. I mean,
Yeah,
imagine being Jacoby Myers and getting traded to the team you lost against 2 days after you lost to them. But I literally could not tell you who else is on that Raiders offense as a wide receiver right now. Genuinely.
yeah. I mean, that's it. It's another case of who. Like when you talk about the receiver room, like take away Brock Bowers, like Geno has nobody. Like the Raiders are not a good team.
No.
Thursday Night Football is not going to be a big showdown. Yes, you're going to see two teams that have like history and they hate each other and whatnot. Bo Nix is going to go out and he's just going to play good football. He's going to play smart football. He's probably going to put 4 touchdowns on them
Mm.
and be pulled like a smart team would do. And that'll be it. Like, the Raiders will take another loss. The Broncos will get another win. And like that'll be it. I wouldn't be staying up late to watch it if you're in
No,
Ireland,
God,
unless
no.
you're a diehard Broncos or Raiders fan. If you're a diehard Raiders fan, I'm so
Let's go
sorry.
to bed.
Just go to bed. Like it's called the stadium's called a black hole for a reason. Go to your black hole of sadness. You're not going to enjoy Thursday Night Football. But yeah, Broncos are going to go out. They're going to smash up the Raiders. End of. PS2 is going to take Brock Bowers out that game.
There you go. There you go. I think we're all kind of picking the Broncos to win that one. Okay, now the moment we have all been waiting for, we are going to talk about the absolute carnage that unfolded yesterday on trade deadline day in the United States. I was in the Pittsburgh airport in the security line, getting ready for my flight to Boston, then to fly to Dublin, when the news broke that Twist, you put it in our group first, and then I saw it on Twitter, that the New York Jets were shipping two-time All-Pro cornerback Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts for 2 first-round picks, one in 2026, one in 2027, plus wide receiver Adonai Mitchell. And the entire NFL world collectively lost its shit, because this came out of nowhere. I mean, there'd been no talk about this. The Colts didn't particularly seem like a cornerback needy team, at least from my perspective. So it was just so random that this happened, and it happened in such a dramatic way. And then they weren't done yet either, because they then subsequently traded Quinnen Williams. Is he gone to the Colts as well?
No.
I forget
Cowboys.
the Cowboys. Sorry, I forgot that. I forgot about that. But Quinnen Williams is gone, so two cornerstone pieces of the defense just shipped out of New York just like that. And even though the New York Jets GM came out and insisted that they weren't in tear down and rebuild mode, this screams tear down and rebuild mode with the amount of draft capital that they have amassed for future years. Four first round picks in the next 3 drafts plus additional late round picks. I mean, twist. They are 100% writing this season off and building for the future.
This is tear it down to the studs. This is like, we're going to start fresh. Colts obviously are all in. You know, they're seeing what they've done. They've had 2 losses like this entire year so far. They're going all in. They obviously seen a need and a gap in for cornerback, and they got arguably the best cornerback of this generation on their team now. When you're willing to give up 2 first-round picks for a player, you are going, it's win now. And like, either win like this year or next year minimum. Like, it's full on, let's go. And it's absolutely like, burn it down. Justin Fields is doing nothing. Like, the team, I'm just surprised no one else was.
Yeah, there was talk of Breece Hall going as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't go. But I think you look at it this way: like, running backs, some people argue they're a dime a dozen. Some people argue it's hard to find a good running back. I think it's smart to hold on to like Breece Hall for next year, just in case you have a rookie quarterback that you're going to throw in the fire to. You're going to need a running back to take the pressure off him. But absolutely, like, the Jets are in full-on tear-down mode. I will say the Cowboys gave up the better of the 2 first-round picks that they got to the Jets for Williams. So they gave the higher first-round pick that they got off Green Bay, I believe, to the Jets for Quinnen Williams. So the Jets are stacked. The Jets have the capital. The Jets are going for their franchise quarterback in the 2025-2026 draft.
I don't know, should they, is what I think on that one, because the college quarterbacks, unless they're going to go for Mendoza, like, who are they going for there?
Not a huge amount of top-tier quarterbacks coming out in the 2026 draft, to be honest with you. So it'll be interesting to see it. But, I mean, James, the fact that they did it in such dramatic fashion as well, I mean, it was just all a bit mental, wasn't it?
Yeah, it all came out very quickly. I think for Breece Hall as well, they wanted like a 3rd rounder, and there was a 4th on the table from the Chiefs. So I don't know. Like, I think you're right in saying that they were right to hold on to him, because he's a solid player, and you can't just give everybody away. Like, you need to build around something. Honestly, if I was in the position that they're in, I wouldn't be taking a quarterback in the next draft. I'd look to continue to shore up the defense and go into the following year where you could have Raiola or the Notre Dame quarterback, his name escapes me, or even
Carr.
Yeah, even Arch Manning is possibly floating around now. He doesn't look like he would live up to the potential already. But
wouldn't he drop Arch Manning in the first round or the second round?
No, not off what we've seen, but like, at least there's more positive players and positive ratings and clear positive play coming out of the quarterbacks that are coming out in 2027.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a huge level of wide receiver talent coming out in that draft too. So they have 3 first rounders in that. Now the thing is, if they hold on that long, you have to then probably give that quarterback a couple of years before they're ready to challenge. So when are you going to the playoffs? Is it 2030? Is that the plan here? Because Glenn certainly won't sign on.
Yeah, it does look like 2030 is the Jets' long-term goal. Like, you have to play. We've talked about it hundreds of times before in this podcast. There's the instant gratification, but the instant gratification has got, like, the Jets nothing but suffering. Like, not since Broadway Joe have they seen Mark Sanchez. It was a flash of hope for them when he played for the Jets, but since then, the Jets have just been stuck in mediocrity. And it's because they want win now, and they're always trying to win now when they're not ready. So I think if the ownership allows the front office to do what I believe they're planning, which is they're building up a huge amount of draft capital. They're looking at, James probably right, building up the defense this year, going for quarterbacks, wide receiver next year, and then probably 2029, 2030, make a big push to be a contender once again in the AFC. Yeah, I think that's probably the long-term goal of the Jets. If they try to go, 2027, 2028, or even 2026 for the playoffs, sorry, Jets fans, it's just going to be more sadness, more jerseys being thrown in the pile.
Yeah, and I think the last time they had this number of picks that early in the draft is the time they picked the likes of Sauce, Williams, Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson. Like, they've tried to do this thing, and yeah, the guys they've got, some of them have talent, and you'd say Sauce was an excellent pick, worked out very well. Williams is excellent defensive tackle, but now you have to get guys who are as good, if not better than that, and do the full rebuild. So it's like, it's a tough situation.
They've almost made it harder for themselves in the short and medium term. I mean, they're not going to win any more games this season, I don't think, or they might win one or two here and there.
That's a long-term goal.
Yeah, and then, but I think you've made a good point that you need your owner to be willing to give time there. Woody Johnson is the owner. I think there's not a good setup of a team that is going to work out in the long run or the short run.
But look at Woody Johnson's done in Green Bay, in New York in recent years. He basically got rid of Robert Saleh, got rid of Aaron Rodgers, and now he's gotten rid of two of his best defensive players while publicly calling out his quarterback. And just it's almost Jerry Jones level of interfering in the way the team is run. But more often than not, Jerry Jones does typically have a positive impact. And I think,
no, Jerry World is population Jerry, and it's full of just insane versions of Jerry.
But I do think that Jerry Jones actually does genuinely care about his organization, and he's more heavily invested in it than Woody Johnson is. Woody Johnson just seems to be doing random shit for the sake of it.
He cares about the monetization of
his organization. He'd pull the curtains closed in the summer of the stadium and not let his quarterback have to face the Texas sun once.
The one thing he's going to do is never pull the curtains. He wants everyone looking at him 24/7. So
yeah, he'll only pull the curtains for UFC fights. Or boxing matches. He won't pull it for when Dak is like, "Oh my god, I can't see." Jerry, close the curtains. Deal with it.
It's going to be very, very interesting to see how that pans out in New York with how the Jets utilize those draft picks in future years. Rashid Shaheed, I know we touched on it earlier. He's now gone to the Seahawks. I think the Saints with that trade are almost kind of, giving up in the season a little bit as well, because he was a key piece in that offense, and they're down to one receiver now, one decent receiver plus Alvin Kamara. Saints season, well, we won't get into it too much now, but the Saints season hasn't gone quite the way Kellen Moore would have liked, especially with the obviously having to change quarterback to Tyler Shock as well. James, I mean, it's just an interesting move that they would get rid of one of their kind of key contributors on offense, especially with someone like Shaheed's speed as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing, but I think they would have probably more likely have preferred to ship away Alvin Kamara had he not played so badly this season. I think the Chiefs probably would have been in for him if he didn't look so poor across the season. Like, he is somebody that they were ready to move on from. Maybe they should have done it in the off season. But yeah, in general, they probably do need to just restart, because they have a lot of money tied up in cap space, and they're a really, really bad team to watch. And they're up there with the Titans. So I think it is Titans as well. They just want to give away everything to get draft picks, and the thing is, when you're that bad, people don't want your players. So it's tough.
See, the Saints are on a different rebuild path. They're rebuilding what I call rebuilding the fly. So it's not tear it down. It's just move a couple of pieces, get some mid to high level picks, move some players who are going to have an issue with our cap, free up some space for next year. But it is a bit curious. You got Rattler has been benched for
Tyler Shock, or Shaw, however you pronounce his name.
When you've got a guy who doesn't have a lot of experience, in the pros, taking away a big target like a safety valve, is only going to hinder and hurt his development. So it's a questionable one. Alvin Kamara, like, he's banged up, he's old, like, he's only going to get older and slower. His trade value is probably at the highest it's going to be now, which is maybe a fourth, maybe a fifth round, if he's lucky. Like, yeah, give him a team with a great offensive, like, put him behind Jonathan Taylor, for example, in the Colts as a backup with that offensive line. He'll probably have a resurgence, but a team is probably not going to take a risk on a running back that has that much wear on the tires. Like, so I think they're stuck with him, and the Saints are just going to have to go rebuild on the fly. You know, not fully write the season off, but like, don't have high expectations.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the Saints season unfolds. They're playing the Panthers in Week 10. And speaking of Week 10, before we finish up, there are some interesting fixtures. I mean, obviously we're past the halfway mark of the regular season now. Some good games coming up this weekend, especially in myself and James were talking before we came on in the NFC West this weekend. Second last international game this year as well in Berlin at 2:30 Irish time. We have the Falcons and the Colts. This is going to be a good one, James. Obviously, Colts coming off their loss in Pittsburgh, so they're going to be keen to kind of bounce back with that one. And now they're going to have a brand new shiny defensive back roaming in the defensive secondary in Sauce Gardner. Falcons are 3-5. Outside of Bijan Robinson, they haven't really looked great this season. Michael Penix is kind of struggling at quarterback there. Who do you like in this one?
It's hard to know because you never know what Falcons you're going to get week to week. They can put on some really good performances and they can be pretty bad. Like, they were beaten by the Panthers 30-0, but like around that same time they beat the Bills. Last weekend they probably should have beat the Patriots with the number of opportunities they were given at the end, and they played well, but Bijan was kind of quiet. So they're quite a confusing team. And I do think that now that they've invested heavily on the pass rush, finally they seem to have something going a little bit there. And I think that will be something they'll try to do to the Colts. They'll try to get after Daniel Jones after what the Steelers just did to him. And yeah, I don't know. I think it could be a very close game if the Falcons play even 80% of what they're able to do. I think they could well beat the Colts, but I wouldn't bank on them doing that. So I'm gonna have to take the Colts here just because Falcons are too inconsistent.
Colts as well. I mean, the Colts are used to playing in Germany as well. I think they played there twice. This will be their second or third time playing in Germany now. I know they've definitely played in Frankfurt before, and they need to bounce back in the big way.
Sauce Gardner's going to have a pick six.
Oh, there you go. James, you're a gambling man. Put some money in. We really need to get some betting sponsors for this show. If anyone's listening, I have a contact in Fanatics Betting. I'll get onto him. But if anyone's listening that works for any local, regional, or national gambling agencies in Ireland, do get in touch. There's kind of three games that are standing out to me really quickly here. The Patriots Buccaneers. Drake May is absolutely balling out. He is playing, absolutely fantastic football. He is taking on the mantle as the Patriots franchise quarterback. That's going to be a fascinating battle to see between himself and Baker Mayfield. I really can't call that one. Again, I think it just depends kind of on what Buccaneers offense shows up to a certain extent as well. They have been banged up recently, but Baker Mayfield, you can never really count him out. I think that's going to be an absolutely great game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tied between this game and the Ravens game for the early game of the week. For people who want a good game to watch early on. But I'll probably end up watching the Buccaneers-Patriots game purely because Baker Mayfield is going to put that team on his back the way he's done every single week, and he's going to drag them across the finish line. Yeah, Drake May is playing phenomenal, but there's just the Baker effect. When Baker walks on and somebody hits him and pisses him off, he's like, I'm going to beat you now. You hit me too hard. You hit me out of bounds. That's it. We're done. I'm going to put this game away.
It's like Michael Jordan, and I took that personally, and then he just goes on a rampage.
Personally. So I think, it's going to be a great game to watch. I think the Buccaneers are going to squeak it out.
James, two key, absolutely essential battles in the NFC West as well. Cardinals, Seahawks, and Rams, Niners, Cardinals getting the win on Sunday Night Football. Seahawks. I mean, this is really jostling for the top spot in the NFC West. Really, whoever comes out on top of this game is gonna be Niners are 6-3, Rams 6-2, Seahawks 6-2, Cardinals 3. Okay, outside of the Cardinals, basically Seahawks, Rams, and 49ers is going to be a really important matchup for all three of these teams.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting weekend in the division because the Cardinals are coming off an important win as well with Jacoby Brissett. That's a big decision now. He's in there ahead of Kyler. They're going heavily to Marvin Harrison. I don't really think that
name starting quarterback as well.
Yeah,
officially starting quarterback, which is a massive step. I think, just as a side note, I think Kyler Murray's on the way out there.
Yeah, I think definitely he's probably seen his day there. And I think the Seahawks are going to win this one. I really like them a lot, as I kind of already mentioned earlier on. So that's an interesting game. But, funnily, I did mention how high I was on the Seahawks, but at the start of the season when I had to put my money on the line of who was going to get to the Super Bowl, I did a Bills-Rams matchup.
Ooh,
so this was one
I'm
really, really watching here because Sean McVay does not like getting beaten by the Niners, and he will not want to lose them twice in one season. So they were beaten by them when they were very banged up. He'll want to go out and prove himself here. This is going to be a really interesting one against Shanahan, so he loves to try and outcoach him. And I think with the run the Rams are on, they're just steamrolling teams at the moment. So I think the Rams and Seahawks are going to be sitting pretty high in this division after Sunday.
Yeah, that's definitely one to watch. I believe that is in the late window, the 9:25 game.
Yep.
And Twist, last but not least, our Steelers are on the road out west to take on the Los Angeles Chargers in Inglewood on Sunday Night Football at 1:15 a.m. on Monday morning Irish time. I will not be staying up for this. Just going to put it out there right now. It's a game and 40 job on Monday morning, and say what you will about that. But I think the Steelers are in a really good position to actually win this game, because based on the defensive performance against the Colts, the Chargers are missing Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. There's two starting tackles, so our pass rush should be able to get off after Justin Herbert. But I think it's time for defense stood up against the Colts. I think it's now time for the offense to step up and play its part in this one.
I mean, without your two starting tackles, especially Joe Alt, the Steelers linebackers and edge rushers should absolutely terrorize Justin Herbert all game. He shouldn't be able to throw the ball. He shouldn't have time. There should be, again, a multiple takeaway game. This should be multiple sack game. TJ Watt should light the field up. Herbig should light the field. Basically, there's no excuse here at this point. Mm-hmm. If they can't beat two backup tackles and struggle, Justin Herbert is absolutely going to pick apart our secondary, because that's just who Justin Herbert is.
Especially Darius Slow, as I've started calling him after the Colts game.
Well, literally, the Steelers' game plan is go in and just beat up on those two backup tackles. Don't let them win any games. Terrell Austin, please do something different. Send hidden blitzes, send disguised packages, send everything. Send corner, send Ramsey on blitzes.
He's a good blitzer.
Chaos in the backfield. You give Herbert 4 seconds max, he's going to pick you apart all day. And that's the concern for Steelers. It doesn't matter how well Aaron Rodgers plays in the offense. If you give Herbert any type of time, this game is the Chargers.
James, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's really a defensive matchup more than anything, because the Chargers' defense is very strong as well. An interesting piece, I think, from last week was Deion Henley. I really, really like him, linebacker in the Chargers, and he had kind of the game icing sack after only losing his brother a couple of days before the game last weekend. So shout out to him. He is an absolute warrior, and I think he may have another big part to play here, but I think you're 100% right. If Herbert is allowed time, the Chargers are going to win this game. But with how beat up their O-line is, I think the Steelers just edge it maybe by 3. I think they'll have enough to keep Justin Herbert quiet, I think, even though he can make a lot of big plays. I think it's actually a really exciting game.
It is, and we've seen from previous years as well. I'm just finishing this point because we're almost the hour mark, lads. That's how easy it is to talk football with you boys. I love it. Great combination. We're getting this combination back in the podcast. But Twist, we've seen in previous years that the Steelers fans do represent out west, I remember years and years ago when the Chargers, still with the San Diego Chargers, they played in Qualcomm Stadium, and it was basically all black and gold in the stands. So I think Steeler Nation is going to represent in Los Angeles on Sunday night, and I think the Steelers go 2-0 in this run on a 2-game winning streak.
Well, they better represent it out in Los Angeles, because after the embarrassment of letting Go Pack Go reign through Acrisure Stadium against the Packers, there was no the Colts didn't get to take over Acrisure, but letting the Packers take over our home stadium the week previous, they better go in and they better take over. They better force Justin Herbert into a silent count. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great game, but I'm still very wary.
Lads, look, great episode. We are at 55 minutes, so we're going to wrap it up there. Lots to look forward to in week 10 of the NFL. Some big games this weekend, and we will be back next week to recap and see what happened and get into it. Thanks again to our sponsors, Print My Pint. Make sure to check them out at printmypint.ie for your next event. If you are a new listener, thank you for joining us. Make sure to subscribe and follow us on social media. If you are a returning listener and you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button and follow us on social media. Lads, thank you again for your time, and I'll hopefully see you both next